So these are all the nuts for the telescopics there. These are the steel nuts and then the packing nuts. I've got two of them that we're going to be machining new, this one and this one. Both of these are wore out beyond the specs that they should be. We've got a good one here and the largest one is still good there. So we've got two that we're going to be making out of some 9" by 12" bronze. That's the 400,000th pass right there, using a high-speed tool. Notice the tip. It's somewhat maintained. We're not flying a mile over the shop in a gazillion little pieces. That's manageable tip. Alright, we've been getting this thing bored to our size. I just made my finished cut. I want to go ahead and mic it and see if I hit my target size. So I like to use my inside mics. These are my Starretts. And I like using this rod. This is like an extension that you screw into it. It serves as a handle. I've always liked that. To me, it works like a telescoping gauge. I know some don't like that. They just like to grab it like that and go in there and do it, but I actually like holding it with that handle. That's just my preference. Usually what I do is I stick the bottom of it just inside so that it's easier to gauge how far in the top of it goes whenever you're measuring. So it should be a straight bore. I'm gonna stick it, about an 1/8 inch in there. I'm gonna hold it. I know I'm probably blocking a lot of this, but so you rock it forward and aft and then side to side. And as you go back and forth like that, you're feeling it touching. And I'm looking at the bottom of it and I'm looking at the top. Making some minor adjustments to where I have a touching point right there that doesn't feel tight, but it's touching in there and it's being held, see? So I should be able to take that, just pull it out. I wanted this 9" 130. So even though these are good, these are calibrated and certified, I still like to use inside mic as a transfer tool, and I use the main micrometer, which is also calibrated and certified as well. I use that to measure just like you would a telescope gauge. Hold it on the bottom anvil, like so, and rock it just like I showed you how to use a telescope gauge. So you just touch. It's just touching right there. So I got exactly 9" 130. Maybe you can see that. So the bore is ready. I'm going to go ahead and move to the outside and do some turning and threading. We're going to be taking this one to 10 3/4. I got 60 thousandths to come out of there. One of the things I was going to mention to you, I like using them earplugs. got to where I use them a lot now for a lot of things because stuff starts to just really bug my hearing. But whenever you machine in brass, it's another good time that you can use some sort of ear protection. You'll appreciate it later. I'm gonna go ahead and start threading this thing. So we're gonna be cutting at 10 threads per inch. I've already got my pitch gauge and I've already checked it. And we're good to go. I got the nut threaded to where I think the steel nut should fit, and it did. I got it screwed on there and it's going nice. I'll probably take another 5 thousandths on the compound to give it. It doesn't have any movement. It's a little too tight. That could cause a problem whenever I go to part this thing off. It may try to move a couple thousandths and tighten up on it. So I'm going to take a few more thousandths off the thread, but I do want to point out the inside right here. I've got that step machine on the brass. All of your V-packing gets stacked up into here against this shoulder, and then this face here is what compresses it as you screw that brass nut in there. So I'll go ahead and go on there with it, and you can see that is going to come up into that area, that machined area where that packing goes, and you tighten up the brass nut to compress the packing. That's also a way to adjust the packing in service whenever the cylinder is being used. Sometimes you get a little bit of wear. You can go in there and you can tighten that brass up, all of the bronze packing nuts, to compress the packing and stop any kind of small leaking that you may have past the V-pack in there. So this one's pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and chase it a couple more times and we'll part it off. We're ready to go. I got my tool set where it needs to be. We're going to finish that at 2.5 inches wide. So I've got it at 2 9/16 wide, about a 1/16 to face off. I got my little chip guard there to help block them chips from flying up at me. And here we go. I got my parts catcher right here, broom handle. Look for that groove inside to start forming. There it is. I went ahead and finished up the first gland. This one's completed as far as lathe work. I've got it face to length. We got this side turned. and we've got the groove cut in there for the wiper. But I've got one more that I need to do, so I'll show you setting that one up. We'll do some indicating, and I'll show you a couple turning and boring processes here. Now here's the one we just finished. And this is the nut that I made also, the steel nut. Alright, so that's probably about how far it'll end up going in there. Your packing sits inside here, and your other tube, your next smaller tube, slides through here. So I still got to machine the 4 slots in it, like you see here. That'll be the last stop. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to this one, and go ahead and finish out this one here, just like I did that. Got the jaw set to this undercut right here, and this is machined for clearance to go up inside that counterbore. Got these 2 jaws opened up just a bit. First thing I'll do is check the face. Now this face should be pretty well true with the backside, since I parted it off with a parting tool. It doesn't have to be super accurate, but we'll try to get it really close. Okay, so we're already within 4 thousandths. So there's a high there. That's 2, 3. A little high spot right there. So I'm already up against the jaw right there, okay? So we're gonna leave that just like it is. I still got a little bit of a turn section there that's not threaded, so I'll line this up right here. And you got to be real gentle with this right here. It's going to squeeze it some. You're going to get a little bit of deflection and warpage here, but that's okay. We're just turning an undercut there. It's a clearance underneath the minor diameter of these threads. And then make sure you can see that. I think that's good. Alright, so pretty good ways out. That should put us within a ballpark right there. We'll go ahead and move that around some. Now what you want to do is make it equal. That's pretty well equal there. So that's -1 and that's 0. -1, 0. And the other thing you got to do is make sure you got enough pressure on all of them too. -6, -5. And then what I want to do is go back to this one. I'm going to bring those in a little bit more. So -1. I'm going to back these out just a little bit. Alright, so now we're getting a lot closer on our deflection to being centered. Alright, so that's -3, -3, -3, -3. Alright, so I'm going to leave that right there, but what I want to do is go ahead and check this one more time. Make sure that none of the jaws are loose and I didn't catch it. Alright, so we're going to go with that right there. This is the wiper material here. I just cut these to fit. Alright, looks like I got it good to go. Once you cut it and you squeeze it in there, push it in tight where the two ends meet, it'll spread that completely out flat against the bottom of the groove there. Remember, always break your edges. Always. Unless the print says not to do it. Alright, Tom, I need you to come lift this boring bar off here for me. It's getting a little tired today. We got an undercut here of about 150 thousandths, 9/16 back. Get the machine set there. About 50 thousandths. Alright, well, other than some filing here on that first thread and some polishing, this one's ready to go. Alright, there we go. Got those two ready to mill the slots. That'll be our next step. Mill the 4 spanner slots in there. So it's time to mill the 4 spanner slots in the face of this new packing nut right here. And it's a pretty simple procedure. How I do it, I think it's pretty simple. It's not very critical that they be exactly 90 degrees apart or 180. It's just a slot for the spanner hook to grab whenever you're turning this thing and tightening it up. So if it's off a few degrees one way or the other, doesn't matter. I mean, you want them to look pretty square so that they look professional. So I use a centering head and a right angle head to scribe it exactly 90 degrees using those tools. And what I'll do is I'll line my cutter up on that line and center it on the y-axis and then go equal amount each side. So I got a V-block here as a hard stop to rest the nut against. And when I first start this, I've already done one. I reconditioned the slots on one of the bigger nut because they had been pulled on one side, so I went ahead and cut them a little bit wider. I'm just going to look down here and get those 2 lines in line down with this groove right here. And we pushed it up square against the V-block. And I'm using this shop-made clamp that I use for many of my hold-down needs. Just a piece of 3-inch tubing. Pretty thick, it's quarter wall, I think. Quarter or 3/8. Alright, we're going to go ahead and just get that a nice snug. Don't take much. And we'll come over here and we'll center up on our line and start our cuts. So we're going to make it 3/4 wide, and it'll be 1/2 inch deep down on your Z-axis, be 1/2 inch down. So you can use the 2 flutes of the end mill to line up on that line right there. We'll get it down real close and just eyeball it. So that looks pretty good, right about there. We're going to go ahead and just zero our Y. Alright, go ahead and put it in gear and we'll bring it up just to touch it. And we got to make it in 2 passes just so that the end mill doesn't sing and chatter so bad. We'll touch it and we'll kind of verify that we're in the center there. So that looks like it's in the center. So I'm gonna zero out the Z and we'll go down 1/4 inch. I'm going to bring it into the cutter, touch off, and then zero out my x-axis. We're going to go 5/16 in that way. Alright. So let's see. We're going to move it over 1/4 inch. We're going to go in 5/16. Zero it out. We'll go across. Another 1/4 inch, and we'll come back out. Now what we'll do, it leaves that little center section. Cut that off. Alright, we'll we're going to repeat that. Go up another 1/4 inch. A little past it there. Alright, there's 1/2 inch. Alright, there's our slot, or our little notch, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so what I'll do is I'll move the camera and give you another perspective, and we'll cut one more. Alright, so since I got Y centered, I'm going to run this in there and I'm going to line it up with the cutter this time. Alright, I think that's pretty good right there. We'll snug our clamp back down. And we'll repeat. Be our 0. On our Z, still looks pretty centered there, see? Drop down 1/4. We're going to move over 1/4. I'm going to leave the sides. We're going to go 240 each direction. That way after I cut it, rough it all out, I go in with a finish pass and clean up the edge, make it look pretty. I go 10 shy on the depth there. Alright, go up another 1/4. Repeat. Now we'll do our little finish pass. I'll bring it all the way out to a full 250 each direction and 5/16 on our depth. All right, there we go. So 2 more to go. There's the wiper. I'm going to trim it to fit the groove here. All right, we got our glands and our nuts all ready to go for our telescopic build.